I'm very happy to be here, and thank for the organization here to accept me. And it's a very pleasure to be here since this afternoon, suffering together with 30 other people. So the people that weren't here, they maybe suffered somewhere else, but we definitely suffered together here. And it was very inspiring to see all of you also coming here at the moment, but also in this morning or in the afternoon session. I've never been here, but I have heard of this place. I've often seen your orange booklets everywhere in the monastery. So it's very great and to be here finally. So I got a very good introduction. I'm very surprised that this information is still available somewhere. And Ajahn Chito is someone I met, is it almost 8 years ago? 8 years ago in Natbot, Banana Chat, so some of you will know, International Forest Monastery. So when we train as a monk in the West, in Amaravati, it's not uncommon in your 3rd year in the monkhood that they ask you to go somewhere else, to spend a year somewhere else. So I chose, or I was exiled to Wat Pananachat to suffer in the forest. And there I met Tan Chito at the time. And we both got to know each other. And he comes from a very, I would say for my part, a very different lineage. Similar, I mean, maybe for you it all seems the same thing. But I come from a very Western style, English Western style monk training. Also very Ajahn Chah style, very communal. Where he comes from a different style. I cannot say too much about it, but because I don't really know. But he trained quite differently in certain ways, but also very similar in some other ways. And his ability of Tudong, which you kindly said, so he's able to walk from Chiang Mai, which you know it's a bit in the north, all the way to KL. So that is what he did last year. And he said the Malaysians were very keen to always ask him to get into the car to go somewhere. And he was saying, no, I'm on Tudong. But no, come here, come to my center, come to this temple. And that only shows the kindness and the generosity of the Malaysians. Like he has done also other Tudongs, go to Taiwan for a few months and without support, just get off the plane, walk around in 3 months. Was it 3 months, 2 months? 2 months, got back on the plane, and that's it. No other places, no invitations. So, of course, these are more exotic. There's also times that he went through Thailand itself, of course, and then walk around. And just to say that is a practice that we, some of us aspire, and I think I don't have enough paramis, let's put it this way, to do that. So just to give you a little bit of an impression that his life, to be in this kind of aircon room together, nice and cold and noisy a little bit, with proper cup of teas with lids on it, and it's warm, is not something that he's used to. I mean, he knows what it is, of course, but he's not used to that. So doesn't mean that he doesn't like it, though. Can the aircon be a bit colder, But he tells us stories about how difficult it can be. If you can imagine, be with yourself, walk, and he likes to say, you're all Chinese here, right? Fan mo, right? Fan mo is the word. He likes to live there, like in the where all your ancestors are buried, those places. So if you're really interested, we can go and drive tonight, and see and do proper practice there together. But this is all to inspire or to train us, even though I would not so easily do that with him. We went for a very short one, like a 5-6 weeks through Thailand, and I suffered through it, and we walked. And we have different personalities, and we stayed also in this burning ground, like where charnel grounds, where the Thai people burn the corpses. Not when we are there, but that's the place they do it. And Chinese like to, my son, like superstitious. And then is it a ghost or is that energies? And But luckily I'm Western born, I'm more Guailo than you think, So I don't know, and I just sleep, and that's okay. So for me, that was not really a big problem, but I can imagine when you tell the story, it's very scary for a lot of people. But that's the thing, if you think about being monks to practice and the way Ajahn Chito does it, it's very inspiring to see that you go through difficulties, extra difficulties. That's what we call Tudong, right? Extra difficulties to go and see what your mind does to you. And because for some of you, I can imagine already, taking an evening off or a day off, coming here, sitting on the floor, eating things that you don't choose to eat and pay for what you like to eat, it's already plenty of suffering for you, right? Huh? And being with people that are noisy and, are not so the people that you want to be with, it's a lot of suffering for some people here already. So it is the same kind of spirit there, It's the same kind of going against the stream, going against what you're used to and like, and, not to do it very extreme that you are always in hell. But it is important to realize, coming to places like this and sitting together and talking about Dhamma, or talking about practice, talking about difficulties, but also talk about the joy, I hope you also share with each other the joy that you get, the peace that you get, the understanding. So, below I've been told, I got a very brief introduction about some of the symbolism in this building, and I was told that that was the impression I got, every corner you look, there's a symbolism that you might not know. So there's 2 pillars down there, and the pillars that is upholding everything. Sila and virtue, and Panya, wisdom. So in some ways, that the monk's life that we are living is based on sila. So the lifestyle that we do is not the clothing that we wear, but basically the code of conduct, the way that we are trained, the way we are expected to behave and not behave. Like there are certain boundaries. Like you, as law-abiding citizens, I hope, don't go and kill people, because that's not what we're supposed to do, or steal things from each other, or and I don't know, I can't think about all the things that you can think of, but anything, like you have your code of conduct as well. And you might not see that as a very virtuous thing, but these are things when you go to or you meet a very unvirtuous person or an unvirtuous country, then you can see what a difference it is to see. I have to say that one of the things coming from the West, not the West, but maybe somewhere else, what is slightly difficult for me is how traffic works here, how people drive their cars. I feel that virtue is not some of the main pillars there, It's like, 我先,我行先, always, like there's always like, go first, me first, the rest can wait, And you understand this, sila and panya, virtue and wisdom, it's not about that, is it? It's not about me first, right? That is not something that is part of our way of thinking. And just realize that is upholding the world, not being me first. So that is also going against the grain. So what I was saying about the Tudong experience, going for walks and sleeping in charnel grounds, funeral grounds, it's not something we prefer, right? We prefer an air conditioning room with a nice bed, soft, silent, a toilet nearby, en suite best, with also aircon in there, and hot water, clean, not dirty. And that's not what he most likely is experiencing when he goes on a walk. But there's a certain freedom in there, a freedom of contentment. I hope there's contentment, but that's up to him, right? And not having a lot of wishes, So you go to some place, and then you just accept what it is. So in some ways, coming here, I was very surprised. I didn't know what to expect. I'm not someone who likes to research a lot of things. So I come here, I see very nice people. They're very smiley, they're very kind. They ask you, want this, do you want that? And then they take me to a room with air conditioning. And that's very nice, ensuite bathroom, it's clean, It's all very nice. But it's something that sort of suits the heart. It's very nice. But I wasn't expecting a funeral ground, like a charnel ground, but it's nice. And that is something you can see, that the people here were not thinking about me first. They're thinking, can I help? Can I be of assistance? Can I offer the best, And I did felt very much like that. And then, when the time was there and they ask, are you okay? Do you need anything? And then I go up and then they give me more drinks and more things to eat that I cannot eat. I'm full. But just imagine the life like us sometimes is like that. Sometimes when we come to places like this, you see a lot of kind people, smiley people, and they try to work through their difficulties. So there was a lot of questions this afternoon about people having their difficulties and asking how can we resolve it, And it was interesting in a way that sometimes, and these were good questions. I don't want people feeling that they should not ask these questions. And I think these are very good questions and are very proper and very normal. And the questions were about things like, how to deal with anger, deal with restlessness, deal with maybe anxiety, cannot sleep, deal with stress at school or at work as being a school teacher. Very things that we all can relate to. How do we do that? And how can we resolve that? Well, I'm very happy to explain that, and I tried my best. And I'm not very short in answering, but I'm trying my best to explain it. And when they bring that up, what I see is that when I answer this, there's just a lot of elements in there. So whenever they ask something, I can see the element of the bodily nature, how it works in the body. I see certain types of things arises in the mind, like unpleasant mind states, like anxiety or anger. And I see, or I can hear in their questioning and explanations, their reactions to it, their habits, right? So you see these few things, right? Habits and the anger and the perception of anger, an unpleasant feeling, and the body feeling not happy. And then the question will be, how do I get rid of it? Like get rid of it or take away or solve it. It's a bit like the fire, what I was explaining. There's a fire, you put water on it, gone. A lot of people that don't realize when their building is on fire, when it's gone, it's still burned, like it's still not good, right? So you can take it out. But the best thing is to not create fires, So the Buddha's teachings go deeper than that. So this is very good questions and things that we have to work with. But the Buddha's teaching is talking about deeper stuff that can resolve this, sure. But it's a bit like when the Buddha teaching compared to the fire I was thinking, it's like the fire code, is that what you call it here? Fire code, like, you have a building that is properly done and not fire retardant, as I think. Like if there's a fire, you don't put materials in there that easily catches fire. You have open corridors, and fire doors. If you notice, I'm living with my parents in this apartment. You have these fire doors outside their apartment. And out of ease, always has to be closed, right? But out of ease for getting in and out, they just open the lock a little bit, so it's never closed, right? So one of the things is that I was talking to my mom about it, is that there's a code and there's a reason why they say it should be closed and locked, or not locked, but closed. Is that, what I think anyway, I'm not an expert, is that when the fire goes on and you're going down the staircase, right? You don't want a door open where the fire is, then you're going down as fire, right? So you want that to be closed and locked. But of course, life is as it is. Everything that is safe is uncomfortable. So we just, do it in a way that is convenient for us, right? So, and I guess there are enough people here taking care of Nalanda, getting the person coming in, that's not good, do this, do that. And they're like, there's a lot of cost and it's inconvenient. But when there's a fire, it's very nice. Like when you're not here, you see there's a fire smoke detector there. It will be nice to have a smoke detector, and it will be nice that the system is working, that no one turn it off and replace the battery and all that stuff, right? And this will be nice that someone is being called, and then they can take care of it. So I would call the Buddha's teaching the same. It's like the Buddha is actually, if you want to call it in fire, eradicating the fire from the roots. It doesn't come. So you will also not have a fire, but you have to do a lot of different things in order to get protected from the fire. And I believe all the symbolism, if that is all correct, I haven't heard most of it, but they all refer to the same thing. How not to get it on fire by yourself. And this fire that I'm talking about is the fire samsara. the fire of becoming, the fire of, the never-ending life that we, or being that we are. So the Buddha summarizes this in all the things that he teaches is the arising of suffering and the cessation of suffering. To me, when I heard it the first time, I was like, oh God, Like one of the retreatants were saying that as well. And when you talk, or when I'm talking, I'll fall asleep, So boring, or I can't that type of attention. I remember hearing that, I'm like, oh God, what is that? Just forget about it. But the more, for me, I see and experience this life, I feel very fortunate to have a slightly better understanding than when I started before about this, and what does it mean. So what helped me a lot is to understand suffering itself. Like, it's a very loaded word, and it might also not be the right word in English. It's something that one can experience, It's a bit like if I say, how does your hand experience? You look at your hand, how does it experience? And then you can explain it. It's warm, it's cold, it's like this. But you can't really explain it, can you? Like, I cannot really explain how my hand feels. But everyone who has a hand can explain it's not much happening here, Like, it's not really feels so much. It's just a hand is a hand. That's how it feels, right? But when I hold something hot, it feels warm. And then we can say, oh, it's so many degrees, right? There's so many degrees. And then you have a sense, oh yeah, that's around that. That should be warm. I think it's 40 degrees, around that. And then you have an idea. But suffering is very hard to quantify. That's why it becomes a difficult teaching to teach you. It's like the hand. After today, I explain what the hand feels, and I give you all a piece of paper, and you try to explain exactly what I meant with how the hand feels. It's very difficult. So, suffering, it's important to understand what suffering means. That suffering is not similar to, I feel unhappy, I feel stressed, I feel like I feel angry, I feel uncertain about myself. Yes, that's suffering in a way, but it's not exactly it. It's a condition that you will notice. One of the things, what I've heard in the last week, what is it? Sing San Ngai, was it? Is that called Cantonese? Sing San Ngai. Zhao San Ngai, yes, that one. Zhao San Ngai. And I hope I'm translating. It's like your whole body is full of ants. So can you imagine? Sometimes we make this mistake. I made a mistake the other day when I was in the Chaoyun somewhere, stepping on an ant hill or on an ant thing, and then I was looking around and I was like, whoa, what is this? And then all these ants are crawling up. You know that feeling, right? I hope you live long enough here, which is not a common feeling in Holland, I tell you that. But I was like, wow, and you try to do things like this rather than this, right? And you have to be careful and okay. But now imagine your whole body is full of it, right? You're sleeping, you wake up, from top to toe, you're full of it. And that feeling of, unsettledness, unable to settle, unable to be at peace, unable to be at ease, just impossible, right? So we can practice ourselves and be calm and walk, but just go with me with this one, right? So this feeling, that's sort of intense, natural feeling of unsettledness. And that unsettledness makes you want to do something. So if your body is full of ants, what you really want is to get rid of the ants, right? Get out of it, get it away. And that will be the advice the Buddha gives. The Buddha says, you know why you're suffering? Do you see all these ants on your body? If you get it all off, then you'll be fine. That's it. But the problem here is that we like the ants. We like to suffer. We enjoy it. You see how many ants I have? I have red ones. What do you have? You have red ones. Oh, mine better than yours. More beautiful, And So that was what we do. Oh, I'm better, and I've got more ants. I know where they are, you know. And then, well, scratching, you know, I don't feel comfortable. And say, yeah, but I don't like scratching, you know. But then you have to get rid of the ants. No, don't get rid of my ants. In a similar way, the Buddha tried to explain that the 5 sensual pleasures that we have is that we like them. And these are also the source of lots of our problems. How many of you here likes to be a good Buddhist? Right? They love it? How many of you don't like to be a bad Buddhist? Anyone here is a bad Buddhist? Or want to say they're a bad Buddhist? Having this distinction, good and bad, creates this tension in yourself. If you do not know, like a child, if they don't know what is good and bad, they will just do what they do, right? They don't feel anything. But parents, as I have 2 of them as myself, they like to tell you, that's bad, don't do that. And you're like, and then you're like, okay, the next time you forget, because we don't have the child memory and mindfulness is very short. And then you do it again, and then we told off, and then you do it again. If you're a naughty one, a good naughty one like myself, then you get whacked, you know. And then you hopefully understand. So for us, it's the same thing, is that if we don't suffer enough in the sense of that it affects us, and you can see it, that this has relation to suffering, we will not let go. We will not change. So it's important for you to see in your life when that happens. Like a good Buddhist, a bit jokey, but also not. It's a very strong becoming in the sense of a good Buddhist and a bad Buddhist. So you might think, and I do appreciate you all coming here, because otherwise the room will be empty and I have no one to talk to. But you might think of yourself as a good Buddhist today. You know, I saw the rice downstairs, and I guess you all know the rice, and okay, and you create all these rice. It's good. You're good. You're good. You're not bad. You're good, right? That's what we want. But if I would be standing in front, I was like, 12, only 12, huh? Today, only 12. So bad. You know, he did 20 today. You're bad, you know? And now, you? Oh, 6. I think you have to stay in the corner, you know? And we do that to ourselves, isn't it? We do that to ourselves in our mind, that we are bad or we are good. And that's create this kind of tension that we do. But it doesn't mean that we should not do it. And that's the interesting about Buddha's teaching, is it's very paradoxical, if you understand paradoxical. It's doing and not doing often. It's being and not being. How do you do that? So non-self, get rid of self, right? No. Don't get rid of self. But how do we combine these things? How does that work? So true with suffering, in some way, understanding suffering is also not getting rid of suffering. So understanding suffering is like understanding, what is a good example here? Okay, so I told you this before and then this evening now, but I hope you don't get hungry. But here they like to say hosik, right? Eat is very important here, very important, right? So we go somewhere to eat and hosik, right? 好難食, huh? Very, very difficult to eat, right? And then 又貴又難食, huh? That's even better, right? Even expensive and then hard to eat, right? And what happens then is that you get this unpleasant feeling. But it's okay to feel unpleasant. It's like, that doesn't mean that you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to want it. It doesn't mean that you have to go there next time to be a good Buddhist. You know, we're all good Buddhists. Yeah, we go patient, go there again, and do that again, and it's not 又難食又貴, you know, the whole time, you know. And then you tell your friend, you know, I have one more in rice, you know. I'd be a good Buddhist because I did this today. I went there again, it's not good to eat and it's expensive. I have 2 rice, I did 2 times good, right? But to understand that will be more helpful. Understanding in the sense of, oh, I go to a place and this is how it happens. Oh, I understand how this feels. I understand this is unpleasant to me. I understand that it's not good and not nice. And as humans, it's a gift for us to remember that we can understand something, that we can see something that is good and bad, that we can make this distinction. As you know, that maybe other creatures or living animals cannot do that. They just, like what do we like about a cat? We can like to say cat killing and stuff, but we use our own humans' perception about good and bad and say killing is bad. But you also have to see it more like it's an ability that we have. We can see good and bad. Some humans can see it better than others. Other humans might see it a bit weaker, and you know those people. So when I came here, starting the talk, it was about the virtuous and unvirtuous people. There are no virtuous and unvirtuous people. They're just a degree of virtuosity, right? Or whatever the English name is. So either more virtuous or less virtuous. So in this way, it's important for us to see suffering and understand it. So not to get rid of suffering itself. So understanding suffering is first to acknowledge what is suffering. So what I was trying to say to you in many words is that these two things that is created in your mind, you often don't see one of them. You just see one of them, good Buddhist. And every time you don't reach the ideal or not doing the right thing or you get angry, so I'm a good Buddhist, it's in your mind, or I try to be a good Buddhist. And some people are very good, they will say, I'm a good Buddhist. Finished. But some people are doubters, you know, they am I a good Buddhist? Am I not good? And then they become angry. And they think, a good Buddhist doesn't become angry. Right there and then, first you want to be a good Buddhist, is suffering. I want to become a good Buddhist, I want to become, okay? Good. And then anger arises, which happens by nature, anger, greed, hatred, and delusion. The Buddha said these exist, right? He doesn't say you can get rid of it. He says these exist. And when you become angry, then you have this other thing, I should not be angry because I'm a good Buddhist and now I'm a bad Buddhist, and then you get this whole tension. Do you see the tension? And that tension is born out of suffering. You know, the ants are back on your body and then you don't know what to do. And there's a lot of these questions that we have here today, in this afternoon, is about these kind of type of questions. Rooted in suffering, rooted in this, you know, the ants is coming, how do I solve it? How do I get rid of it, right? And I do feel that it's important for you to understand that there's a relationship between how you behave and the habits that you have and resulting in this suffering. So Longpa Samedo likes to say, when there's no awareness, mindfulness, when you start, it leads to all kinds of suffering, But where's clarity of mind and mindfulness in the beginning, it will lead to liberation. So if you do suffer or you do feel this, there was a point in there that you did not catch it. You were not mindful, you were not understanding. And during the meditation session, I hope you, like for those that were in this afternoon, I was not trying to tell you that you are a bad Buddhist. I was not telling you that anxiety is bad, you have to get rid of it. I did not tell you you should not be angry. I did not tell you you should be better or different. I was trying to emphasize to you to understand, like hold it properly. Not try to get rid of it, understanding, right? Hold it and look at it and see for what it is. So anger arise, but it arises because of a certain action before. And you need mindfulness, concentration, like the virya, the energy, all the good qualities that the Buddha has been teaching. And now we go back to the fire code. All the things that the Buddha has been teaching, and you can go around this building and you find all of it, right? All of it that we have to cultivate in order to understand suffering. Because if we are not concentrated, we are not virtuous enough, we cannot see these things. It's impossible to make it clear to you. It's as if you are blindfolded, you know, you can't see. And so the Buddha was so kind, seeing that we all are blindfolded, right? We are all in the, you know, if you like symbolism, we're all the lotus flower, linhua, under the water, doesn't come out, you know, all in the mud, with a lot of dust in our eyes. You know, there's another saying up there, little dust in the eyes. We're so obstructed that we cannot see it. But the Buddha teaches us a lot of good qualities. Not to say that the bad qualities has to be eliminated. It is to let us understand, to cultivate the good qualities in order for the fog, the eye patches that we have, to remove them and see clearer. It's as if you get a new pair of glasses, you know. I just got a new pair of glasses and I put it on. I'm getting old, you know. You know, this feeling, right? And then you put new glasses on, it's like, oh, that's easy. So too, the Buddha is cleansing our mind and heart in order to see what the reality is for ourselves. And then hopefully we can see suffering and understand suffering. And that is what he would like us to see. The more you see, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more you will do things in order to have less suffering. And the Buddha teaches basically the rising of suffering and cessation of suffering. So the suffering is there. See it? You see it? See that there? And then you see it goes down. So this is the things that you do that it doesn't appear. Why is that? What is that? So today I was talking about greed, anger, let's say, and non-anger, right? So in the Buddha scriptures, they like to talk about practicing non-anger, non-greed, and non-delusion. Right? Maybe you've heard of that. This is the opposite of greed, hatred, and delusion. So Longpo Samedo was, he was there, so I can ask him any questions that I want. And I asked him, so what is non-greed? What is that? How do you cultivate? I want more non-greed. That's how greedy I was. I want more non-greed. Longpo, tell me about. I want non-greed as much as I want. And then Longpo was asking me like, okay, good. So it was actually talking about anger because non-greed doesn't really work in this example. But he said, "Are you angry now? Are you angry?" I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a bit direct question." I'm like, "No." And he says, "That is non-anger." And I was like, "What? That's it? Is that it?" I have this all the time, Only when I'm angry, but most of the time I'm not angry. Most of the time you are also not angry, right? But it is that understanding of there's non-anger in the world and in your mind. And how do you cultivate that? So how is it possible that I go from a non-anger state to an anger state? There's a relationship between there, that how this disappears and this arises. Either in nature, like you see a child running on the street. So you are a good Buddhist, right? You will be calm, say, "Please, child, come back." Not angry, right? All good Buddhists here, right? Or you're gonna shout at them and drag them out and like do all this kind of angry things. So you have to think for yourself: is anger really that bad? Maybe we have anger, and that is sometimes good, but you have to need to understand that, understand when to use anger. So, and like fear, people like to talk about fear in the West, like, "Oh, I'm so fearful, I don't want to be afraid," and that's not good. And Ajahn likes to say, it's good that you're afraid, because those people that were not afraid and went to find a bear, in the old times when there's bears everywhere, "Oh, interesting, let's go to find a bear," and no fear. All your ancestors like that, dead, all dead. So did not survive, right? So fear is good. So I'm trying to explain to you that there are things in our life that you have to understand and how to use it to understand, rather than categorically say left is right, no, left is correct, and right is wrong. And that is very important to make the distinction. Because if you do that, you create this kind of tension, which is born suffering, out of suffering. So it's your job, I would say, to be a good Buddhist, if you want to be a good Buddhist, is to understand suffering, the arising of it. So when suffering arises, understand, have enough concentration, mindfulness, peace of mind to see it coming. And when it comes, I do this, this, and this, that becomes suffering. I want to be a good Buddhist, and I don't want to be a bad Buddhist. That makes me suffer. And I don't want to be angry, and I'm angry now. Makes me suffer, right? And then you have the other side, and the arising or the cessation of suffering. The suffering has disappeared, right? So if I ask you, are you suffering now? You have to know for yourself what suffering means. Is that there or not there? If you cannot see suffering itself when it appears in you, forget about it. You're not there yet. You can't see it, right? So it's important to understand this part of suffering. What does that mean? And make a distinction with meditation and understanding and virtuousness and all these paramis that you can build to see clearly that it is not unpleasant feeling. It's not anger. It's not, self-doubt. All of that is not. It's unpleasant, for sure. It makes you as a person suffer, for sure. But it's not the suffering that the Buddha was talking about. And if you can understand the core or the cleanness of where suffering is, and you can see it arising, as you can see a rising of anger, as you can see a rising of greed, and you can see a rising of non-greed. You can also see the non-arising of suffering. And the non-arising of suffering, that's what we want, right? We want more of that. But how to do that? It is up to you to see those elements and how that is being produced and created. As long as you don't see that, all of this, what we are doing, is to be a good person. Very nice. It's all good. It's not bad. you're a good Buddhist, you will do well. But in order to understand, I would say, the Buddha's teachings through the core teachings, and not about being angry or not angry, or anxious or not anxious. It's all byproducts. It's all not that important on that level. Then you cut through to reality and see things as they are, where you sort of are on the path of certainty, because you can see. You're not one of those that don't understand and don't see. So I hope that when you practice, you have your own goals in mind. I don't tell everyone that everyone should be enlightened. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. Some people want to be a good Buddhist, fair enough, or a good person, or get rid of this anxious lifestyle that we have. It's also fair enough. But I would encourage everyone to understand this part, because this part is the gem of the Buddha's teaching. Everything else you can get on YouTube. You want to sleep better? Go on YouTube. You want to be not angry? Go on YouTube. All the gurus are there enough for you to understand. But if you want to let go of suffering, go through suffering, in my limited understanding of what I know, the Buddha's teaching is teaching that part. And that's the core of the teaching. Everything else is nice. It's all good. Not to say it's not good. But everything else that he teaches, or not else, he teaches always that, everything he teaches are small things towards that goal of clarity of mind and understanding. Similar, like the building code of the fire, a smoke alarm doesn't prevent fire, but it does help to reduce these things, that it will be burned, the whole thing will be burned. So too, if you have your own sila, your virtue, you get less suffering for some reason. It's like, you do things properly in a way that produces less suffering. And hopefully in the next, from now on, or maybe you're already doing that, when you hear more Buddhist teachings from other people, or from, I don't know what kind of event you have, but all these events that you do here, it's helping you closer to the goal of liberation, of understanding suffering and letting go of suffering. So, with that, I would leave you with this teaching, and I hope whatever is useful, please take it on, and whatever is not useful, just forget about it. And it's kind of hard with this camera now, but right? Okay, Avon.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. When we know that certain qualities that we cultivate will be able to help us to cease certain kind of defilements, would that conditions apply across different defilements?
No, I'm not very good at quoting suttas, so if someone knows, that will be good. But there are certain kilesas, certain defilements that you remove by seeing. Certain kilesas you remove by bearing with it, basically. So, and certain things you have to cultivate to get out of it. So, no. So it's not everything is just based on seeing. And I forgot the sutta. Anyone knows which sutta I'm talking about? It's the Digha Nikaya somewhere, number 2, 3, 4. But do you know it, Ajahn? I think it's a sutta about defilements. It's either in the Majjhima or in the Digha Nikaya. And it explained quite nicely that defilements have different characteristics, which require different things to eradicate, let's say, or to understand. And some of them are seeing, so not all of them. Yeah. So don't think you can sit down here and be enlightened like this. You have to do things sometimes, experience things and suffer through it. And that is a whole package that the Buddha explained,
Thank you, Ajahn, for your kind teaching. I think many of us here have the condition to have comfort in our lives. So we can have air condition when we want, we can have a warm cup of water when we want. And it is therefore, I think, difficult to feel that suffering, right? Because we have the conditions to be comfortable. So how can we create that sense of urgency, even amidst this comfort that we have? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's very... what can I say? How can I say it in a way that it feels not offensive, It's not uncommon that people feel at ease with themselves, and it's common. That's what I say about the ants, that we feel comfortable with the ants. So when we scratch, we feel slightly uncomfortable, but we like how it is, how things are. And the Buddha has been, in his lifetime, also been trying to teach people about the urgency of things. And for us, even as monks, it's difficult. So I share your concerns and your feelings, And what I mean with offensive is more like, it's because our eyes are closed, not maybe closed like this, but not fully open yet. So the Buddha has taught us many things, again, lead to enlightenment. By one of the simple things is to look at your own environment, like we just had MCO, right? Were you very happy in your MCO time? Was it very comfortable? Did you have a lot of nice things to eat? Did you could go to your friends? So that is something that we all share. What's nice about the MCO, or we call it COVID, internationally. That's one of the things that I can share with you now, that you can understand how it is and how difficult it can be to be living as a monk, locked up in a monastery. I don't really go out. It is like a trip going out, but you're locked up, can't go anywhere, can't go eat anywhere, not go evening things anywhere. Have to stay at home or stay in the monastery. Just eat what is given to you. You know that feeling, and it produces all these kind of things that is difficult for us to bear. And it's, the ants, remember the ants? It feels like that. And I think some of you, if you're not a super introvert and have no friends and family at all, then you love it. But most people are a little bit more than that they feel unpleasant. And that is a good, clear sign to see just, there's something wrong in there. I should pay attention on it. And that's how we do it, because if we just do our lives as we normally do, you're happy with your lifestyle, which is fair, and you can say that a lot of people, I don't know why you're not making assumptions here, but let's say you're wealthy enough here to do what you want and afford what you want, but it's very depending on something, isn't it? Like the MCO was a good example, but it's very extreme. But haven't you experienced traffic jams here? Are you very happy with traffic jams? When you have to get somewhere, you're late, and that feeling, I think everyone, if you have a nice car, it doesn't matter. If you have a fast car, it doesn't matter. If you have $1 million, it doesn't matter, You have to stand behind that cheap car or whatever, and you still have to wait, right? And what also happens is things break down, I know I say most, like places that it's not nice to eat, and or air conditioning that doesn't work, and things happen to family, sickness, death, These are things that would have thought, hey, look at that. Death, look at death. How is that feeling? So in one of my family members, one of their daughters died, and, was wailing, the mother was crying. I mean, the daughter was in there, the children and everything, was in their 40s, 50s, but it was really sad, But after some time, we forgot about it, sort of, or we don't want to talk about it, don't bring that up. So it's helpful, actually, to look more honest and closer to your life, I do wish you your life as it is, very happy, suffering-free, right? Suffering-free, that's great. But I don't believe that, and that's what I mean with offensive. I don't believe that at all, because when things happen, like when you go out, are you by car? With a car here? I just tell you, the car is stolen. Go up. Who has this car? This silver-looking car? I just saw someone drive off, and then you're like, are you going to sit here nicely, or are you going to run down? Or, so your happy life suddenly no good, no? Or I talk about the fire things, and then if that happens, also no good. And there's the thing, and it's not that the unpleasantness is suffering; it's how you hold it suddenly. So here, I'm holding it now. It's very nice, right? So life is like that. We hold our life, it's very nice. But in life, this thing can turn hot, right? Like suddenly there's 200 degrees of water in it. But because we're used to doing this, we cannot let go. We cannot. So what will happen naturally, I will burn my fingers just by doing this. And this is how you hold your life. But the Buddha is teaching us, literally, to understand. So, okay, we hold it, but we don't grasp so tightly, we understand. So when it's really hot, we can put it down. He did not tell us to get rid of the cup, get rid of the water, but he's explaining to us the water can be hot or cold, right? And based on that, you can make a choice. But you don't have the choice often. We don't have a choice. When things are happening, your car gets stolen. Like if we were write down, like as an exercise, homework exercise, right? We distribute paper, and we do, as a Narindo Buddhist society, we should do this as a test, We hire a thief, right? And then we write all the car numbers, and you know the car, right? And we will tell someone here, like we will say, what will happen to you? What will your reaction be if your car was stolen? And you all write fantastic papers, right? You're a good Buddhist, and we're patient. Or the thief also need money, we have to take care of them. We are so virtuous. And then we do a lottery system, yeah? Malaysians like lottery, right? Like 4D, 3D, lottery, right? Love it. And we say, well, this car, this license number has been stolen. And then we just want to check, are you reacting the same as you think, And if you're not, it's something to look at. And when people talk about good Buddhist, bad Buddhist, same thing. You think you're a good Buddhist, whatever you think, and you don't feel like a good Buddhist, look at that, how that works. So I think that question, what you say, is valid. It's the same for monks, good monks, bad monks, proper monks, meditative monks, not meditative monks. There's also the same human experience. So it's just to look in that when we do suffer, like I go to the room there, and everything was working, just as an example. The aircon doesn't work. How do I react? Oh, the aircon doesn't work. Why is it like I come here, everything works downstairs? Why? They don't do a proper job, or I suffer. That's born out of suffering, right, when I do that. And if you see in your life, and at any time, where you have slightly not so good speech, slightly angry, slightly upset, slightly impatient, then there's still work to do. And there's still work to do if you want liberation. If you don't want liberation, we're all doing fine. We're all good. We're here, we can be here. Most probably you have enough to eat. You have ability to come here. You can be among good friends. Good enough. But if you want to have this liberation, then we have to go further. And then your life is built on good karma. That's good. And Buddha teaches sila, to be a virtuous person. Why? And dana, right? Dana and sila. With dana and sila, it brings you up to the deva realms. The devas, the gods' realms, right? And trust me, I've seen so many houses here, and so this is like a deva realm. Can you imagine this 200 years ago? You need to be a sultan to live like this, right? Air conditioning, food of your choice, small packages, people all walking and helping to do all kinds of things. But what do? We don't think we are sultan. We think we're just average, right? But what you're doing here, and what your lifestyle sounds to be, is on a deva realm already. What more do you want? And somehow we always want a bit more. But that's what the Buddha is saying. Even this is not enough. Even this, you don't want MCO, right? You don't want that. Okay, you don't want traffic jam. You don't want that. You always want good food. As soon as you go out here, I was talking about the traffic. You have bad traffic, like how people drive. It's just, for me, it's like shocking. But then we also went to shops and places, and people are not always honest, and they do all kinds of things. You don't want all of that. But this is how life is. And if you want to transcend that, your Deva realm life already, then you have to go further. And hopefully you have this wish to go further and don't stagnate. And if you want to wish to go further, you will start seeing things that are not good enough. Similar to when you clean a house. When you start cleaning a dirty house, most of the things you can throw out and clean. But you cannot see the small spots everywhere. It's impossible. But when you are happy with how clean it is now, that's fine. I saw these people today, and we were sitting, you're not sitting on mats, they're very impressive. They were sitting on mats, right? And after we sit in the upstairs there, they were wiping it. I think for most people it's like, well, it's not even dirty, why wipe, right? But that's the level of, I'm not saying that you should all do that, but that is the level of cleanliness in the heart that you see. That small thing, you have to pay attention. And it takes a lot of concentration, mindfulness, and wisdom in order to understand and say, oh, this has to be removed, and it takes time. So I will encourage you, if your goal is liberation, to continue doing that, because that's what it takes. You know?
What make you make this move to enter your monkhood? This question I already asked your parents, and they told me when you better ask him himself. So tonight I ask you.
I have very tough parents, that's why I went as a monk. I think everyone has a different story, and maybe I can also ask Ajahn Tirti to share a few things of that, because it's a very common question we get. There's different ways of answering that. I think in my life, I somehow, when I grew up, like I was in Singapore, I told you, and I was always looking for something about being a good person. What does that mean, you know? And I went to different religions to, listen to it, to these kind of things, right? Go to these kind of places, and I was studying business and law, right? So for people that understand business and law, I can summarize it. Business is you being taught this box that rules, like HR, supply chain, and all that finance stuff. There's all rules, and your job is to think out of the box. So if you can think about something more special than that, you win, basically. So you earn money, you become better. Law is the same box, different box with law, and you have to do everything in your power not to get out of that box, right? So become on the edges of the box. The closer you're on the box, on the edge, the better you are, to understand that. So in box, out box. And you taught that. But no one's teach you about being a good person at school. I've never, in my upbringing, maybe through friends, but not to teachers. And I felt a clear lack in there, a lack of that. There was an emptiness here, like not emptiness in a good way, right? But a lack of something, right? So I had to find it somewhere else, So for some reason or not, I found it in NUS at the time, and got to know the Buddhist Fellowship at the time in 2003 and 4, very early days, when Ajahn Brahm wasn't that super famous yet. And it was like a place like this, with Ajahn Brahm sitting in front, and the first Farang monk, like the first foreign monk that I saw, Western monk. And that accelerated my understanding of self-reliance, self-investigation. So what I'm feeling, the questions that you're asking about suffering and unpleasantness and stuff, I had that as well. And like the question I would ask, what is a good person? What is good karma, bad karma? And then often they didn't give a straight answer, They could offer this kind of, they're not going to tell you. They're going to answer it in that you have to think and don't understand. They give you a manual and you have to read. And they don't say, do this, this, and this. Good person, do this, and the 5 things, done, No, 5 precepts, super complicated. You have to, not killing, but not killing is also appreciated life. Stealing is not stealing, but, appreciate people's ownership, and very complex. But to me, it felt very much as a power I could cultivate for myself to understand what is it to be a virtuous, a good person. So, years pass, and after reading a lot and doing a lot and not meditating a lot, I felt I reached a point that I cannot read more, listen to more, it's all the same, Like this talk that I'm giving, like all the same, say the same. That I started to do a meditation session. So, but I've then, since Singapore, I've done my 5 precepts, non-stop. Only one day not, but I'll leave that story for another time. And basically for 6-7 years, 5 precepts, and that builds a foundation that I was talking about, the 2 pillars. And you can see a change in life. I stopped, as a student, I stopped drinking, like I was 21, 22. And drinking is just a social thing, it's nice. Let's have a drink, let's go to karaoke bar, have fun, and Monday we can work again or go to student. What's the problem with that? But I could see a clear change into the clarity of heart. Like when I talk about this, not drinking is like this, Like suddenly you can see the heart is not, when it wants to misbehave, you can see it clearly. It's like this, you can't see it. And so my life changed for the better. And in 2009, as she said, I joined a Mravati retreat and I finally signed up for something. And during that retreat, a 10-day retreat, the monk was talking about present moment awareness in the now. Of course, I read plenty of it, but what is nice about the retreat style is that someone can try to explain it more in many words, many ways, so for you to understand. And for me, I suddenly could freeze in my present moment. I could freeze myself and I could not get out of it anymore, right? That was how nice the teachers were. And it took a few days, but then I was walking, my walking meditation, it was like here, now. I was sort of anchoring myself. And then something happened, in my mind. And something in my mind could see that all the things that I know and be, all the business stuff, law stuff, work stuff, and suddenly turned negative. Disappeared, gone. Similar to, if you remember the show, like The Matrix, for instance, right? It's still there. Everything is still here, but you can see, you don't believe it anymore, right? So I don't believe in this good Buddhist, bad Buddhist anymore. I can see that there's a purpose of it, but I don't believe it as I am a good Buddhist or I'm a bad Buddhist. It just has a different flavor to it. So when I cannot work in this life by being good or bad, being, the good manager or the bad manager or firing people and all these emotions, I felt during that meditation session that, there is an end to this. If I follow this path, there's an end to this understanding. But if I follow the business path, there's no end to it. You can ask so many rich people, like as a Buddhist monks, somehow you meet suddenly a lot of rich people, in Malaysia, everywhere. And they all, if you meet them, they're very human-like, normal humans like you and me. I don't know whether they're all here rich people, but you cannot tell one from another one. They still have their issues and problems and stuff, and which is fair. And I could see no end to that. Like whatever I was trying to do, it was not helping me to release the suffering that I was clearly feeling in my heart. And by practicing this, whatever this was in Amravati at the time, I feel it released for a short moment. And so I tell here the people, remember what you did before this arising of this pleasant feel of whatever you want. Remember what you did at that time and keep doing more of that. So it was very easy. So I said, I want more of this. Okay, bye, a good life, bye, and then I'll give up my life and I'll try this. But the good thing about Buddhist Theravada monks, I would say, is that it's not for life. It's something you can try. But you have to do the jump. It's a bit like, people that bungee jump or, jump from the plane with a parachute, kicked out. You have to do the jump yourself. You have to do it. And that is scary for a lot of people. But if your goal is to, I would say enlightenment or freedom, it's a small price to pay. And this life is for me easier than a lay life. I will not be able to do it. I will not be able to do as you do, I think. In my 40s, I will be more busy, earning money, spending money, traveling, having friends, going out. Why would I spend my time in the evening with all of these boring people here listening to this, right? That is how my mind works. So I had to put myself into this cage, so to say, in order to suffer. It's a little bit what Ajahn Tirachito also does with his walks. Maybe you want to end with, why did you become a monk? Because that's one of the most popular questions. And you can end this with this last thing.
Good evening. So what was the question?
Why did you become a monk?
Uh-huh.
Maybe nobody asked you before.
Yes. Why did I become a monk? I had a good friend when I was 21, and he was Buddhist. He was Vietnamese, but born in Germany. I'm from Germany. And he had a kind of a life like Ajahn Narindo. He was born in Holland and in an Asian family. So growing up, I think, in the West as an Asian, look like an Asian, but inside probably a bit more whitish, a banana, right, they're called? Yeah. So that my friend was like that. So he was my friend. We went out to party when we were 16, 17, had our fun, doing some drugs here and there, alcohol. But then his mother died, and he had a kind of a life crisis, obviously, right? Thinking about life and death. And he started to search for his roots, cultural identity roots, and somehow he came back to his Mahayana, Amitabha Buddhism. And I did not know that because his father sent him to Australia to finish his high school there. And for 2 years we haven't seen each other. And after I graduated, he invited us to Australia, me and another friend. We went there and he received us in the airport in Sydney, and we couldn't recognize him. He completely changed as a human being. He was kind, polite. He became a good Buddhist, I tell you that. And me and my friend, especially me, didn't like that fact because no drinking, no party, no girls, no skateboarding, no having fun. And I was a bit upset, but that friend slowly, with wisdom and patience, started to talk some Buddhist topics with me, some conversations. You know, we had some walks at night, and then he starts out to ask, what do you think about life and death, rebirth? And I said, shut up. I'm not interested in this religious stuff. Be quiet. He was quiet, we changed topic. 2 weeks later, casually he starts again. What do you think about this and that? Suffering. I said, shut up. Really, literally, I said, I'm not interested. I want to have fun and have party, which I was really good at. I tell you that. 3 times he tried. I said, no. Then he was really wise. I could not speak English at the time. I was 21. My English was really, really bad. And he said, friend, you want to learn English, right? I said, yes, friend, I want. He said, you have to read an English book. You take a dictionary, read an English book, and then you go word by word, and then you get better, page after page. I said, that makes sense, friend, that makes sense. And he gave me a book. And you maybe can think what kind of book it was. I said, yeah, give me a book, English book, whatever. And he handed me a book. And this is also kind of a comic coincidence, if that actually goes together, that I tell this story now because this book was obviously a Buddhist book, but more interesting is it was a book of Dr. Sri Dhammananda. Yes, I feel also a bit... Richard, what's that? I forgot why Buddhism. I forgot the title, but I still remember the cover. And I start to read the first page with my broken English, but I got a German-English Oxford dictionary, like this big, this thick, and I translated slowly. It took me, I don't know, an hour or two. And after the first page, I think it was about the Four Noble Truths. So there is suffering in life, there is a reason, and there is a way out. You can stop building the cause for your suffering. And that reverberated with my heart. I became inspired. I never felt like that in my life. Just reading it, this is the answer to life, even though I have never even asked the question. I was not interested in philosophy or Buddhism or religion at all, but I read this and it made sense to me deep down in the heart. Even though I might probably not even understood what this Four Noble Truths means, but something recognized it. And I cannot tell you what it was, but it was inspiring, and from that moment on I called myself a Buddhist. And yeah, I think the time's up, so that... Thank you. You saved me. That friend, then I became inspired. I give me more of that stuff. What's that? And he said, yeah, we can come to the local monastery. I'm a monastery helper. So they had the local Mahayana monastery in Sydney, and he took me along to the monastery. I entered the monastery gates, battery's empty too, and I felt peaceful. Immediately saw the Asian structures, the Buddha image, and I felt, oh, nice. Yeah. So then he said, in 2 weeks there will be a retreat for beginners, seven-day retreat. You pay $80, and you can get some, can play a monk basically. You can ordain as a monk if you want. He said he also ordains as a monk for his mother for 1 month, yeah, to make merit for his mother, and I can come along. I said, no, you are crazy. You're crazy. And then I forgot what happened, but we had a bet. He said, something stupid, I really forgot what it was, but it was something stupid, fitting to me. And I said, if that's not right, if I'm wrong, then I go and become a monk with you, or I go to the monastery with you these 7 days. And I lost the bet. I lost the bet, and had another friend. We rented a room together, a house actually, a German friend. And I said, come, go with me, please don't let me go alone. And he said, no, I cannot. He was Russian Orthodox. His mother would kill him if she finds out. He said, please come along. He said, no. So I went with my friend, went in and took the 8 precepts. And yeah, I had to decide if I become a monk. And actually, I wanted to become a monk, but then they told me I have to shave my head. I didn't know that. I did really know nothing. And I had, I was, what was it called? Vanity, I was, I liked my hair, let's say like that. Nice blonde hair. And I felt really ashamed. So I just became an 8 precept guy. I get this, Chinese robe with a brown one, but 8 precepts. So I stayed there 7 days, and they taught me how to meditate, how to chant, and there I got some good meditation results. I got peaceful, happy, and there I decided to become a monk, but I was not ready yet because I was just a Buddhist for 3 days. And it took me 9 more years to make this decision. So that's when I sadhu.